I love that. I love that. Before we get started, though, let's have a little fun. I see you have a little hockey player there.
Oh, you've never asked me about that
No,
before.
I've never have, and I want to know.
There was a
Bring them,
woman.
bring them
She
forward.
there
Bring them
there,
forward. Yeah.
there was a young woman who used to come to all the LA Kings games in LA from the time she was my biggest fan. She wore my jersey, um, you know,
Aw.
and she was just this friendly woman who lived alone and used to come to the games and when I got traded from LA, the next time I was in LA, she showed up to meet the bus with the Buffalo Sabres, and she gave me this.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, she gave me this.
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, and so I still have it today. Somebody in 1986 gave me this. Who I like. I just loved her because she loved me. And
Yeah.
and I still have this on my desk. Believe it or not, right?
Yeah, I've noticed him there quite a few times, and I meant to ask you about him before, and
Oh well, thank
hope
you
they
very
bring
much.
that. Yeah, you bet.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's talk about. We have four questions we want to answer today. So our first question is, you and I have our own ideas about what we want the show to accomplish and to achieve. So we've talked about that at length, and what does it mean for us to have the show become successful? What three things would you like?
Well, I've I've been working at doing a deeper dive into sports than he shoots and he scores.
Okay.
Go past that. Talk about the score goals, defend net, intimidate people. How do you undo these things? A guy in Ottawa cross checks a guy in the head after he puts the puck in the open net, because it was 10 seconds left in the game, and the guy cross checks him across the head and gets suspended for 5 games. Like, what's going on there? Let's, why aren't we like, why is everybody brushing under the carpet? Like, it's like, does he have to go and get help during that 5 game period? Like, I needed the help. The day I cross checked a guy going full speed into the crossbar, head first from behind, because I was fast, full speed, head, like I drove his head from behind, hit him from behind while he was trying to stop the puck from going in the open net because the puck was going slow. So we were both going full speed. And I came up behind him full speed
Whoa.
and then I went to the penalty box just by myself because he had done something to me earlier in the game, and they took him off on a stretcher, and I didn't even think about it. It was like I was just waiting to get out of the penalty box for the next shift to put one in the net.
Okay. Hmm.
Like
Wow.
that's how could you operate any other way? So
Hmm.
a deeper dive than he shoots and he scores. When I say that, how could you operate it any other way? When you're conditioned every single day, do this, act this way, cut this, draw this line, do this bubble, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't not become like I became. And so is there enough work being facilitated inside the game to make this an easy process for people? Or are they just trying, what's going on there? I'm just absolutely curious. And we're going to have some guests on, some really cool guests, like some medical doctors who are doing research at universities. So it's really cool. And the other thing we want to do is we want to support, these are the things I wrote down, our frontline personnel, because performance and recovery and performance is needed most by our frontline personnel. And when I say front line, you could be a retail worker, you're on the front line. You could be a soldier, you're on the front line. Whoever's on the front line dealing with people in that transaction, they need help more than anybody. And so supporting them in some capacity, having different people on the show that are associated with that world, so that we can generate some support from a sponsorship perspective.
Hmm. Cool. Oh, when you said front line, I thought you were talking about a hockey game. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Right. You mean right behind the bench?
Yeah, right on.
Oh, and then by the way, the goal ultimately, Lori, if we're going to do this, let's do this, right? let's just make this the most popular
Mm.
sport in this genre right now, and it's going to raise a few red flags, and Bill Daly might tune in, from the NHL. I'm sure we'll get people. I have over 5,000 hockey people in my LinkedIn network alone, and so as soon as we go live on LinkedIn, everybody's going to get a chance to hear this, and I'm really curious about their response and who wants to come on the show and who doesn't.
Well, let's talk about that, and then I'll get into some of mine, because we were sharing before the show that we just wanted to continue our own stories. You've had your life, I've had my life, and we have our own stories. And it's interesting because not everybody is ready to share their story. We have lots of people we want to invite. It doesn't mean they'll be here. But for a long time, Doug, I'm going to do like a Catholic confession now, okay? For a long time, I've been on the air for 25 years. I have never, I could probably count on two hands the number of actual shows I went back and listened to. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't stand looking at myself and I think, oh, my hair, and then I realized, Laura, you got to get over yourself. And about 3 months ago, I did listen to one of my shows because I was really, it was a really, really good show, and I did actually listen to it, and I thought, I actually impressed myself. So it's taken years though to get there. So we understand if you're shy about telling your story, but my story has helped so many people. I have to keep telling it. Your thoughts on that, Doug?
Yeah, my story about video and watching and learning and becoming better by using video and is about Roger Nilsson, because Roger Nilsson was my coach in Los Angeles. He was, I think, my third coach in the first 3 years, and he became Mr. Video, and so he became famous in the NHL, and he's honored for video. And when I was playing for him, it was his first assistant coach job. So we had a weight room, and he had a little tiny 12-inch TV with a VCR that he could put videotapes in to show us how we played and show us on the screen what was going on. And there was a group of guys who would go and do this, and there was a group of guys that didn't. And I was always the one that didn't. I didn't want to see the mistakes I had made. I didn't want to be exposed.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah, I didn't want somebody looking at me and saying, look what you did. You should have lifted his stick right there. Why didn't you lift his stick?
Yeah.
And when you think about it, it's so backwards and upside down with respect to, building a successful team or a successful organization. So, that's what I've learned about that.
Mm-hmm.
A painful lesson.
Oh, absolutely. Also, too, I think for me, part of what I'd like to see happen with the show is that it becomes something that people know when they come here. It's going to be very difficult to walk away and not have had some kind of realization.
Yeah, and having the opportunity to call in, because we're going to implement that.
Yeah,
that's something else we could talk about. We want to make this show a place where you can call in, talk about hockey, talk about health, talk about sports. We're going to have all sorts of Olympic athletes on and Paralympic athletes. So, you're going to be able to call in and talk about and relate to sports and relate to mental health and ask Laurie questions from her vast experience. How many courses have you built, Laurie? Laurie's a teacher, by the way, everybody.
Oh, no,
so how many you were a teacher? Yes, in the system. She was a teacher in the system. So, but how many courses have you built? Tell everybody how many courses you have just based on the self-worth component, and how many people you've been able to share your methodology with.
Well, we like to call them workshops because when people come in, they work. So I don't use the word course too much, Doug, but workshops,
okay.
Over 1,000 now. And we have
over 1,000.
Yes.
See, that's crazy, That's
and
amazing.
They are all backed with hard copy curriculum, and that came from my teaching background. I spent 15 years in the public school system, and then I failed out to do my own thing because I could see how we were actually dumbing the kids down. If you didn't fit in the box, if you didn't fit in that 60% bell curve, in education, there's this thing called a bell curve. and you've got 60% average, 20% special needs, 20% gifted on either side of that bell curve. But the system was built for the 60% in the middle.
Mhm.
And of course, as time went on, funding and money came forward for special needs, but gifted kids who had, how they handled them, they labeled them ADHD, ADD, and started feeding them Ritalin. And I refused to give children medication, and I left. I couldn't do it. I honestly couldn't do it. But that's how they handled the gifted kids. And of course, in any school system, you check out the amount of money that's spent for gifted kids, it's the least.
How do you speed it up?
These are our future entrepreneurs.
I got a story about Ritalin I'm going to tell, and it's my
Okay.
story. But how do you speed it up? How do you speed up the learning process to get them out of the trauma? See, that's the thing. Nobody's working on getting them out of the trauma while they're teaching them, right? So it slows the whole process down. So how much faster do you claim, knowing the old system and knowing your system, how much faster can you teach people and get people out of a hole?
Oh, easy. I can do it.
How much?
3 minutes.
3 minutes compared to what? A year and a half?
12 years.
12 years. Okay, there you go. There you go. See, my story with Ritalin is really clear. It's really well documented. It's in my book, because when I was 13, if the door was locked, I would break it down. Like, my ADHD was so bad, I just had to be doing something, or I would be destructive. But my mom and dad wouldn't put me on Ritalin. So my mom, she took me to the basement of a place off Woodruff Avenue in Ottawa, to somebody who was teaching transcendental meditation. And I took 3 weeks of transcendental meditation with my mother. She almost had to strap me down to learn meditation, because I didn't want to go inside my own head. Okay, it was too scary a place. I wanted to run into something instead, right? That's what I wanted to do. And so they decided not to put me on any medication and put me into meditation. How about that? No medication, meditation. Very simple shift. If you make that shift in your life, if you make the decision to, that's my little puppy, if you make that decision in your life to switch like that, everything will change. And so when I broke my neck and was paralyzed from the chest down, quadriplegic, the only thing that saved me was the meditation. And that was at age 29. You know, I used it from time to time when I was in a really bad way, when I was in the NHL and I was playing hockey. But when I was in a hospital bed with a broken neck, the only salvation I had was to leave this place just for a second.
All right.
Just a second.
We're going to take a break, and you go take care of
I'll go get the hound.
Okay. 30 seconds. A nice woof woof. Okay.